Hello everyone, it's John with Live Right, coming to you today to talk about the concept of leadership from the crane operator's point of view. Some companies may not, implement this form of leadership, and most companies probably don't. Most companies probably, you've heard this before, if you're a crane operator or if you're working around cranes, just get up on the load or just follow the signals. And I mean that's all fine, but from the seat, especially if you have leadership qualities, you have a much different point of view than everybody else on the ground about a lift or about the load path, where you're going to be swinging. So you have a more eagle-eyed view of what's going on the construction site. So being able to voice your opinion without stepping on the toes of that leader, of the actual leadership, the superintendents or the foreman or management, is the best way to lead from the crane. A lot of times, especially if you have the right mindset, you can make a job or a lift, you can make it much more efficient than somebody that's that, for lack of a better term, they have tunnel vision. They see the load here and they see it needs to go over there. Well, you're sitting out here and you got a much better point of view of the entire scenario. So voicing your opinion in a way that doesn't come off as aggressive or irritated or something like that. Like I'll notice on the radio, the operator may or may not give his point of view and then not listen to anybody else's opinion on it. And this causes conflict. This causes people to shut down and not really care about your opinion. And the same is true for the men on the ground. I'm sure many have heard before on a radio, just follow the hand signals, or just cable up on it or get up on it for a lot of the older heads. And it's our job as leaders to give our opinion, voice our opinion. What if we did it this way? Or really, the best way to do it is to give them a scenario and then show them why it's more efficient. That confidence not only shows that you care, but it allows them to view it without shutting down. Because most of the time, if you come on the radio and you make demands, or you say I'm not doing it, or any of those type of phrases that I'm sure you've either used or you've heard, the people on the ground are instantly going to shut down, and you're going to have that internal conflict, which is not efficient. And if you can have a track record of being efficient, then your opinion is going to be much more warranted later on down the road. So that's just something to think about in a crane, especially for the younger generation coming up, and the older for everybody thinking about it, but for the younger kids, because a lot of them don't necessarily have the experience of the older guys. But you may have a different opinion on it, or you've seen it done a different way. And it's all about communication, man. A lot of your supervisors, your foremen, your superintendents and management, they go to these leadership classes, and when they come back, they all make a big joke about it. But honestly, for especially in our line of work, blue collar work, whether you're working in a shipyard, you're working on a job site, or out in the water like I do, communication is the biggest downfall in this industry, 100%. At least in my experience, as in the 19 years that I've been doing it. It's usually go, hurry up. Steps are missed. Steps are not verbalized. Like you'll get lost in the work, and if you're not making the proper steps, then you're less efficient than if you knew every single step before you were going to be doing it, because you can anticipate things happening. So that's just something to think about as far as the concept of crane operator leadership. It's not a title you're going to be given. It's something you have to take, and your attitude reflects a lot about that. Your confidence reflects it, and your experience also. But for the younger generation, those lacking the experience, be confident. Keep your eyes open, see how other people are doing, and if you see a much more efficient way, verbalize that. Give that opinion and tell them why. A lot of times people don't want to hear why, you hear your boss, and then I'm one that I like to ask a lot of questions, and that's frowned upon, and that's something that needs to change in our industry as well. Because most people think that if you're asking questions, one, you're either scared, or two, you don't want to do it, and that's not the case, at least with someone like myself. For someone like myself, I'm asking questions because I want to be more efficient. I want to know every single variable that could come up, so that I can, be thinking about that while I'm making my lift. What's the beginning goal? What are the things in the middle that may cause problems? And then what is the ultimate end goal? Like, where are we trying to go with this load? And that way I can be, while we're hooking up the load, we can, come up with things like, how long does the tag line need to be? That's something I see a lot of times. People either have an 80-foot long tag line or a 2-foot long tag line. And if you're going with a bunch of obstructions where the people aren't going to be able to hold the tag line the whole time, and you're swinging over top of rebar or false work or things like that, and that rope can get tangled up, or I'm sure people have seen it. If you've been doing this long enough, you've seen the rope tie itself in a knot and it's stuck, and someone's got to go out there and get it, and you don't want that. So if you know where it's starting at and where it's going to, you can kind of come up with an idea of, okay, well, we need about a 15-foot tag line, so it's not so long that I got it 2-block myself to get it over top of all these obstructions, but not so short that I have to cable down near the obstruction so that somebody can get their hands on the tag line to right the load, to spin it. So just that's one of the iterations I can give you as far as the concept of leadership from the crane.